On today's episode of Anime Afterthought, ReZero, Season 2, Episode 4, Parent and Child. I honestly don't think I was ready for that type of emotional episode today. I mean, he is a self-proclaimed NEET, a shut-in, yet it always sat in the back of my mind, why? Why would someone like him live that type of lifestyle? And today we find out why. Now, last we left off, we finally made it to the sanctuary. Of course, there's a couple detours along the way, but like I said, we eventually got there. But it's one of those, out of the frying pan into the fire type situations. Yeah, it turns out the reason why Roswell, Ram, and the rest of the villagers haven't returned is because they're being held hostage. Yes, the half-breeds / half-blood or the hybrids are holding the villagers ransom. They're holding them hostage. And from my understanding, it's for freedom? Well, basically there is a barrier set around the sanctuary where anyone with, I guess, mixed blood or... Yeah, the barrier in itself only affects certain individuals. Obviously, these half-breeds, the beastmen, what we see. And seeing how the sanctuary looks like a war-torn, third world country, it would make sense that these people want out. But the only way to get out, to dispel the barrier, is to actually pass the sanctuary trial. And only those who have been chosen are allowed to do so. And don't even think about trying to force it, because as you see by Roswell's current state, that shit does not turn out good. So basically, it's up to Amelia to, pass the sanctuary trial, lift the barrier so everyone can live happily ever after. But as soon as she enters the trials, the lights go dim, which they're not supposed to if we're going by what Garfield says. Yeah, Garfield is the younger brother of Frederica, the maid who had just returned to the mansion at Ram's request because she can't handle the workload because there's no Rem. Yeah, shit does get kind of confusing once you try to explain it. But seeing some kind of indication of there might be trouble, of course Subaru is quick to act, running towards it. We see the sanctuary, these tombs, these ruins start to reglow. Obviously, we know why. His little trip to the witch's tea party, meeting Echidna. As a parting gift, she granted him the ability to enter the trial himself. And that's where basically we pick up today's episode. Now, before we go any further, let me say there needs to be a correction from last week's episode. No, Echidna did not alter or infuse the witch factor of envy into him. It's basically she fucked with his own witch factor of sloth. I guess it's a mistranslation on Crunchyroll's part. So yeah, I had to get that out of the way, make sure that correction is in this episode. So anyways, like I said, Subaru has, rushed into the ruins. He sees Amelia displayed on the floor, and he is instantly knocked unconscious and presumably sent to his real world. I mean, this is his trial. He has to overcome his past. We're back in the real world, and we meet his father, and soon we'll meet his mother, and eventually we'll unravel the truth of why, he was this self-proclaimed shut-in. And it is very emotional. It is very emotional. I mean, we see Subaru kind of just living his, daily life. There's like a 3-minute argument about peas at the very beginning. Obviously, no one in this family likes peas, yet they made peas. So very weird interaction. We can tell that this is a very nice, very warm, very wholesome family. And I do love how Kenichi is really like Ishin, Ichigo Kurisaki's father from Bleach. Like, it's just that very, hands-on, heavy-fisted, yet very jovial type interaction between these two. You can see them wrestling at the very beginning. It's a very wholesome scene. You can tell that this family is very close, but something is not quite right with Subaru as he, begins to go on his day. We see he is having twinges of pain, twinges of, something like the return by death type shit. You can tell to us, it looks otherworldly, but yeah, something is just not sitting well with him. Obviously, these are just, a manifestation of his past. This is his trial. He's not back in the real world. This is just one of those, just like the witch's tea party. It's some kind of subconscious recreation made primarily for this test that he has to undergo, where he must confront his past. And as we see the day progress, the father is being only nice to him. Like, we see that, like I said, their interactions are very genuine, very nice, very warm, and I fucking love how they play off each other. And even the mother likes to play. Just the narrative and script wise, it was awesome. And then we get to the main reason as he takes little Subaru out for a father-son chit chat, a little one-on-one, where he's poking and prodding, especially about, is there a girl he likes? The pain in Subaru's chest is getting worse and worse. The father once again, tries to console him, tries to confront him. Subaru at this point is in complete discomfort and almost to the point where it looks like fucking suffocation. He just can't handle this pain. And this is when he begins to hear Amelia's voice. Obviously, his memories of Lagunica and this other world at this point are erased. I mean, he's had, brought up no inkling or no hints, no flashes of the other world until he starts hearing her voice. She's calling to him. The script is replaying in his head of all their interactions. And as more of the flash flashbacks come. Obviously, the pain is right in tow, and each one is increasing, and to the point where he finally gets a vision of Amelia, yet he can't remember who this person is until it finally snaps in his head and everything comes rushing back. And it's almost like this sign of relief where he remembers what he has to do. He remembers the other world, he remembers where he's at, and now it's time to get a little more information on why Subaru was the way he was. And it's kind of sad. I mean, at the very beginning of his childhood, of his life, it almost was a sign of pride to be referred to as, you know, Natsuki Kenichi's son. And at one point he lived up to that, you know, specifically with sports it looked like, but it seemed soon after he had a snag. He was no longer the fastest, the smartest, and what was once like, you know, a commendation felt like an insult. It just felt so, what was once a sign of pride only disparages Subaru now. It's being referred to as, you know, Kenichi's son is now, you know, heartbreaking. We see him, you know, begin to just basically dick off. The grades were slipping. He was no longer first in sports, and he really didn't care. But he decided to take another avenue, and that would be, you know, basically class clown and troublemaker, ever increasing the absurdity of his actions. I think the only way that he would have friends is to have this nonstop party where he's the fucking leader. But he soon realizes that eventually everyone who followed him for his stupid, idiotic actions are no longer with him. And at this point, it seems he's all alone. I mean, we see him try once he moves on to high school, but at the same time, putting on this fake facade only alienated himself more, to the point where he would, you know, skip out a day a week, then every other day, and then eventually he just stopped going. And at this point in the story, this is 3 months he hasn't even been to school. Now, after this reflection, after seeing Amelia's face, and after, you know, bringing up the fact that he actually has 2 chicks, you know, not only does he bring up Amelia, yes, I'm the one in love with this, but a girl is in love with me too, he begins to reconcile and he begins to confront his past. I mean, this is him, you know, living in his trial. He even tells his dad about what the hell's going on, like reflecting in this story and stuff, like, you know what, it would have made it so much easier if you guys hated me, if you guys kicked me out. And I don't know if it's based off really Kenichi and the, you know, his mother and stuff, like, or if it's just Subaru's, you know, inner image of how he views his father and mother, but they like forgive him and console him and inspire him. Like, we're seeing some really good shit come from the father, and it's just like, damn, like, if this is based off what Subaru really thinks of his parents, then at the same time he also thinks like they should have just fucking kicked his ass out. Like, it's a very, you know, there's some inner turmoil going on in Subaru's head. But like I said, the father is like, well, I'm not 100% sure what is going on with you. I do know I'm upset one thing that you said, like, I would never hate you, you are my son. And at the end of this interaction, you know, Subaru is finally given the confidence to move on, to confront his past, to end his trial. He decides, you know what, it's time to go back to school. It's time to move on. We are given one more good pep talk, this time from the mother. Now, I'm not 100% sure if they said it in the anime. You know, I was too busy, you know, watching the awe-inspiring moments break out, but I think her name was Naoko. I'm looking it up on Wikipedia after this to double make sure. Yeah. Anyways, his mother, once again, giving him another just lovey-dovey pep talk, really, you know, breaking down what needs to happen. You don't need to compare yourself to your father. I mean, if you're half as cool as him, the other half can just be you. You need to find yourself. You need to find Subaru Natsuki. Like, that's the way you need to work. Like, you need to be. That's who you are. And there really is another sad moment before we get to the end where she says, take care, and then he remembers that was the last thing she said to him before he went to the convenience store and got summoned to Lagunica. And it was kind of sad because he had no response to her. He didn't say shit, didn't say bye, didn't say love you. I mean, there was nothing. It was just, you could just see him well up with tears and make sure this time he did say goodbye. And he finally progresses to the school, progresses to his classroom, opens the door, and who is there in a stunning, you know, school outfit? Yes, it's Echidna, the Witch of Envy. Oh, I'm surprised you made it here this quick. Well, since you're here, I guess we have some time. What did you learn from your trial? And that's how it ends. Like, honestly, a lot of the emotion we get from this series is seeing Subaru go through some kind of horrendous torture, whether it be physical or mental or emotional. You see this dude break down, but this one is more relatable because it can hit home. I mean, living up to your parents' standards, living up to your own standards, isolation and alienation, wanting to be part of something bigger, wanting to have friends. And I think the saddest part is when he realizes, you know, after he loses that second race or gets failing grades, that he is nothing special. He is just the average Joe. So yeah, this one, it was very emotional. I didn't I wouldn't say it hit home, but it was definitely more relatable. But it's also awe-inspiring to finally see Subaru, you know, in the state he was compared to what he is and what he's been through. I mean, this is not the shut-in anymore. He's literally got transported to another world, has died countless times. I mean, there probably is an official counter somewhere, but my God, everything he has been through. For the brief moment we see your father and mother, yes, you live up to their standards. You may not believe it internally, you may not believe it yourself, but yes, dude, you are special no matter what you think of yourself. And hopefully going forward, you realize that. Hopefully that is the path to finishing out this trial. Yeah, I mean, I like today's episode. It was good. It really was good. Like I said, very emotional, very relatable, very awe-inspiring, and it's nice to see them go into his past, you know, pre-isekai-ness. We get to see his mother and father, and we get to see that he got his evil eyes from the mom. But in the end, it's actually bittersweet for all the warmth and jovial and comedic moments we get. The realization that hit us as well as Subaru is the fact that he may never be able to return to his other world, to return to his parents, to say hello, to say goodbye, to say thank you. I mean, seeing him cry in his father's embrace was just, it was kind of devastating. A new devastation we haven't seen in ReZero. But still, it was an awe-inspiring moment. This episode, a good episode. Good episode. Where do we go from here? I have no fucking clue. I have no fucking clue. I mean, we still have Amelia in her trial, unless she was actually calling to him. Maybe she's already out of his, but then why would Echidna be so surprised that he did it so quickly? I don't know. I'm excited to find out though. I really am. But I think the number one thing I want to find out is why. Why is the sanctuary test set up like this? Why is she, the Witch of Envy, Echidna, having people, the participants, confront their past? It's almost more nurturing than anything. It's just, it's weird. It's weird. Is she preparing them for something, or is this just a way for her to break their spirits? I don't know. I don't know. And why the fuck was Roswell so battered and bruised? I'm at a loss for words, so hopefully we'll get some answers. So with all that being said, I cannot wait for future episodes.